Welcome to Silicon Valley Life. In each episode, you'll get an insider's look at what makes Silicon Valley special, how people pursue ideas, deal with failure, and enjoy life. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, concordiaventures.com. Now, here are the hosts of Silicon Valley Life, Naeem Zafar and Meena Meyyappan.
Well, hello everyone. This is Naeem talking to you again on our live broadcast. Meena, how are you?
I'm doing great. Welcome, everybody. Another great show we have lined up for you all. What do you say, Naeem? Where do we start?
Well, first we need to tell because we had advertised that Jay Kumar will be joining us today. He's having some technical trouble, so he may join us later, or his technical trouble may exceed the length of this podcast. So we'll play it by ear. That's the beauty of the live show. The good news is Meena and I have plenty to say.
Oh, we have so much to share with you all, as always, and different perspectives also. So it's going to be very entertaining. When we get started, it's just the beginning of spring. We're almost into summer, Naeem, out here. What are the new trends that you're seeing from your perspective, from a technology perspective?
Well, I think the most exciting thing this week for me was to look at some examples of Chat GPT's newest thing, 4.0 or 4.0 for Omni, because Omni is very conversational. And I saw some YouTube videos posted by Sal Khan of Khan Academy when he's having a jointly session with his son, and he's asking ChatGPT to see how they can improve their communication, their relationship. And it was very insightful video. You should watch it. I think he posted that on Sal Facebook. If not, you can Google it. It gets getting a lot of hits. And they really talked for about 30 minutes when ChatGPT was playing like a therapist. It asked each other to talk about something little known fact about each other. They asked each other to talk about something they like about each other. And it was all live, nothing rehearsed. So I was very impressed with this GPT-4o can do, and who will use it.
I think it's starting to bridge more real-time communications. The way I looked at that, I've seen some videos of it. I haven't used it, I haven't subscribed to it, but I saw those videos where it's almost like a real-time communication with somebody, right? Where you're not talking anymore. You are, and you can also get emotions based on tone and tone of your voice and things like that, which was very interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It had emotion, voice, it had continuity. It remembered the last conversation. It's picking up on clues. It's like talking to a human. I thought this will take 5 years. It's here now.
I know it is pretty. It's pretty like it's very surprising, but at the same time scary, because now comes the other side of this technology. You can almost like take my whole identity with my voice now, with my picture. You can mimic me and do a lot of crime. So along with the good comes the bad. So let's share both. And so to me, it feels like
this was the same problem when Alfred Nobel invented dynamite.
it's true. That is true.
It doesn't mean dynamite is bad.
Mimic everything from my voice, my tone, my reaction to things. You can capture it all. Interesting.
Yeah, so we need to, of course, we don't have the framework, the guardrails, so society can function. But, we talked about that, money is one of those things. Anybody can print money. I mean, they have high-speed printing technique, fake money, but there are guardrails and there are laws worldwide which are strict enough that only few attempt it, and the whole system works. We need those guardrails here sooner or later, otherwise it can get wacko. But what I'm excited about, which I'm doing, is right now I'm designing a new course, AI in Business, which I'll be teaching this fall at Northeastern Silicon Valley campus. So Durgam Vahia, he runs data at Google and I. And we are thinking maybe the class project would be to solve a business problem using ChatGPT 4.0, conversational AI, and see what people can come up with. So I'm excited about that.
That's exciting. It's really a good way to challenge what GPT can and then figure out where it cannot. That'll be very interesting. I'd be very interested too. But having said that a little bit, now we're coming into the AI topic, and we've talked about new chat GPT, right? If you observe the stock market this week, it was all about Nvidia. The whole entire stock market was hanging up on Nvidia's results and how far more it can go. Because people are looking if it's a hype or a bust. Interestingly, it picked the entire market up, even though the general market was down due to inflation and other numbers. Nvidia picked a huge uptick for a lot of AI stocks. So it was a very interesting week, actually, if you ask me.
Talking about NVIDIA, uh, you may want to turn off your background because you're getting blurrier by the minute here. We want to see the Meena in full expression mode. So it could be the background. It's maybe making you blurry. But having said that, yeah, NVIDIA, crazy, crazy, 6x the revenue and profits. And because I think we're just starting a revolution, we haven't fully realized. I was talking to a friend of mine. He said the day he saw ChatGPT announced, he went and bought $250,000 worth of NVIDIA stock, and he's up 6x since the last like year and a half or something. So amazing what people are able to do, what people can see. So
Ahead of
yeah,
time.
exciting times.
So
I'm
here's
just
the
waiting for
question.
this.
Here's the $1 million question. Then we predicted the AI run. What do you think is the next? We go through cycles of innovation, right? I know we are in the AI boom, cycle. If you were to make a prediction, what is the next cycle that will come around?
Okay, but before we answer that question, let's realize that AI is just getting started. This cycle may go for 20 years. If you look at internet, it really became mainstream in 1995. Are we done with the internet? No, we're just figuring it out how to use it fully, and we still haven't fully used it. I mean, we used a lot of it, but so where the big impact will be, I think the biggest impact will be in medicine and drug discovery, personalized medicine. It will also be in robotics and able to have humanoid robots which can infer and do things. I believe in short period of time, I don't know, it's 10 years, 20 years, 25, most soldiers will be robots, humanoid robots. And so we'll be able to maybe fly planes, advance and do things. Maybe most people cleaning your toilets in the hotel rooms will be robots. So robotics is necessary because of aging population and a bunch of other reasons. The hazardous stuff, repeat stuff like flipping burgers in a kitchen or stacking up warehouses, all robots. So drug discovery in personal medicine plus robot is my prediction. What about you?
I, I
What do you
I
think?
will I will sneak in something. There has to be some kind of revolution in agriculture and food, because as we're talking about labor shortage, robots are not able to necessarily cover all the necessity problems that agriculture is facing, right? So I think there has to be some big lift and shift for our food, supply. And what is that? I mean, people have tried artificial meats, they've tried a lot of things, but not successful, because in mass scale producing, it has its own problems and impacts the environment in itself. So I think that's the innovation, which I think has been put aside for a while.
No, you're right. I mean, my last startup was in agriculture, so I kind of know how difficult it is to change things, introduce innovation. But I also know all of them are looking at it. They're looking at all kinds of means to improve the cost or input cost, so food could be produced more reliably, safely, cheaply. So
And so,
there's
Naeem, please tell
another
us about your
angle
last
here, which was
startup. Most people don't know about your last startup. Why didn't you talk about it, especially in the food space?
yeah. So Telesense was the last startup. It was acquired by UPL. UPL is one of the largest agrochemical company in the world, revenues of 6 billion plus. And so what Telesense was doing was trying to preserve post-harvest grain. Because when you harvest, let's say, 1,000 tons of wheat, you're not going to eat it all. You have to store it over several months, or corn or anything else. Well, the moment you store it, bad things can happen. Spoilage, it could be mold, could be pests, could start eating. Sometimes it even creates combustion. The question was, can you use wireless sensors to detect and artificial intelligence to predict when bad things will happen? So you have, let's say, 47 silos full of grain. You get an order. You have to empty 6 of them. Which 6?
Yeah.
So based on a bunch of consideration, you can make intelligent decision which should be emptied first and so on and so forth. So that's one example in post-harvest grain storage. But imagine this thing being applied to what to plant, how to maximize
Yeah.
yield.
Yeah, insecticide, how much and what. But here's a question. I think what people don't understand about the agriculture industry is the challenges you face in getting something like this out. We all talk about innovation, right? But one challenge with innovation is also, kind of productionalizing it or getting people to use it. And what do you think are the major challenges from your experience on the agriculture industry?
Well, so agriculture industry has some artificial constraint because there's subsidies involved. The cost of shipping and different regulation and tariffs control a bunch of factors. Today, for example, many people go hungry in the world. Issue is not that we don't have enough food, it's the supply chain. It's getting it to where it needs to go in a cost-effective manner is the issue. So those are big issues, but climate change is happening, and there are all kinds of issues with predicting the weather and able to plant correctly and able to harvest because you're so dependent on weather. Rain, irrigation, winds, all those have an impact. So there's a whole bunch of things have to be controlled which are not in our control. And I think AI will also help because AI and a bunch of other sensors will be able to predict weather much more accurately than we can today. Predicting weather is a computational insolvability problem. You don't have enough compute cycle. By the time you finish computing, the conditions have changed. And AI and just what NVIDIA has a whole climate focus. So able to predict these things more accurately. So it's pretty exciting what the compute power quadrupling and 10-fold and 100-fold is going to do and able to predict the weather and able to take action accordingly. So what some of the other things on your mind, because I've been also dealing with, as you know, I'm coach other CEOs and advise different boards and CEOs now. So one of the thing always which comes up, I don't know, have you seen it? When you scale from this early stage, when you are 10 people, everybody's doing everything, and you got your first couple $1 million going, now you want to go to the next stage, and you end up hiring somebody experienced. They come from a large company, and they're too busy building the organization, then just rolling up the sleeve and getting it done, and they hire people without having, I call it hiring alligator hunter without having killed a single alligator, so you don't really know. And most companies fail in this transition. I don't know if you see that from your vantage point, and what do you do about it?
So I've done this multiple times in my career. That's why I had to smile and laugh. I just like to compare myself to alligator hunter now. But having said that, let's just walk through step by step what goes on when startups actually scale, right? And have a conversation around it. So when you're a 10 people startup, your focus is to really get the product in the hand of the users and solve a niche thing that they're not able to do today. So you're very focused heavily on just solving that problem. Like give me like if you take an IT software, basically, you can just, start using it to solve a problem you got, right? But you're not focused on like making it the best quality, the best user experience. You're not looking at all the aspects of a great, product itself. You just need to get something there. Then when you scale from this 10 and you start going down to 50 plus, because more and more people are needed in the organization to either sell, because you got a sales organization that's increasing, got a product organization that's increasing because you need more and more of the features. And then there's a technology aspect to everything, right? Which is the infrastructure. So what happens is, everybody comes with different opinions. This is more important. Like when people will start saying, product and the business will say we need more of this. Sales will say we need more of this. But engineering in itself cannot keep growing for the number of people the product was built for. Usually, it's built with a very small scale in mind, and you have to scale the product large. Scale means you have to have quality, right? So repeatability, quality, because I consistently with high speed need to develop something and make sure it reaches the hand of the customers with less problems. That's not the focus of early stage startups. This is the focus when you grow
You hurry
bigger.
up and do something which kind of works. It's
Yes.
good for
And you build
10 customers, 1,000 customers, but if 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 shows up, that's a different architecture.
It's a different
What
architecture. And what happens is we call them loyal customers because they love the product. They're willing to put up with a lot of faults that come with it. But when you go beyond that thousand, it's not the case, right?
so what? How
So
have you solved it, or how have you seen people solve it, or you? I know it's
there's
hard to
multiple
solve.
things. It's very hard to solve. It is not an easy problem at all, and no one has successfully done this without the fallouts. Usually there are few fallouts that happen when this change is occurring in companies. One is culture shifting, right? And some people who have been in early stage startups are the heroes. We call them the heroes who love to solve just a problem. They don't want to make anything stable or standardized. It's not in the genes for them when you hire them. So when you start telling them please work on things and standardizing it, those kind of uh, you know uh, individuals tend to fall out from the company. So people are leaving. There's usually a culture shift because you're moving towards, it's not all about speed. It's a little bit about adding quality standard metrics and things like that in along with speed. So you're shifting culture. You're losing some people who don't like to be in this kind of an environment. Third is you start bringing in senior people who have seen this, because you initially in startups, if I'm correct or not, you should tell me your name. We hire people, very few senior people. We hire a lot of people who can just do, I mean, we have a high amount of people who are not that very experienced, and then we hire very few experienced because we cannot afford in early stage startups. And so what happens is when you start scaling, you bring in a lot more experienced people. That itself becomes the conflict, which is interesting because as senior people come in, there's a lot of pushback. This is how we did things. This is how we became successful. You're going to hear a lot of terminology like that. And the new people coming in have to somehow solve this in a data-driven manner without getting impatient. You can't lose your patience, and
This
you
is
should.
where CEO comes in, because CEO has to articulate what culture is okay and not okay.
Right.
Because people will do what they used to do, especially when they're coming from a large company. So, how do you
Yeah.
frame the scenario? How do you spell out a culture? What do you measure? You said data driven. So, I'm a
Yeah.
big believer. What are we measuring and what is the data telling us? What experiments are we running? So, most CEOs and most founders fail that test.
Yeah. And I think what it is the CEO sets the culture. It's usually operational excellence is missing in
Yeah.
companies like this. So we bring in the term called operational excellence. There's many things behind it, but that's the culture we're bringing in. And you need a lot of minions that will also carry forward the culture. One person alone cannot carry forward culture. They set it, but they don't carry it forward.
Yeah.
So you need a lot of people doing that, and that culture has to be inoculated into something that's different. It's like a mushroom spore. It goes into a different different medium. It has to inoculate, has to grow. So it takes time, and that's why the patience, right? And data driven in the sense we got to start looking at what are your operational metrics for your startup, right? How many times do customers not able to access your site? How many times they have been faced with errors, or they faced with issues because they used your particular product? If you start looking at all that data and say we want to get better from X to Z, I think that's the conversation to be had.
I think this is my point is this is CEO's job to have the culture that we need to measure everything, because we cannot improve if we don't measure. Then what is on our dashboard? Suppose you measure 32 things, then you pick the four or six, which becomes your dashboard. That's how you run an efficient company. By the way, we are live. We can take people's comment. You can type things. We can answer them. We can address them. This is not recorded, so at least for now, it's not. It will be available recorded later. But I know there are people online who are happy to answer your questions. So yeah, so I think this culture is a big topic for startups. How do you shape the culture? So because one of the company, for example, was started in my class in Berkeley. It's called Gridware. So
Mhm.
they actually predict for utility companies when the power lines may be going down, when they have to take some action. They predict it, weather conditions, so you don't start fires and stuff like that. So they're being used by several utility companies doing very well. So this was one of the things they attracted was culture. So for
Mhm.
example, they agreed that as a CEO that we'll take every second Monday off. That's the culture of the
Right.
company, and this is how they run. They also, for example, said that every year company will give you 2 weeks vacation with your family, everything paid for.
Oh, wow.
So the loyalty is so high, and you can
Right.
do that. But many people don't pay attention to those little things like that, which means a lot. You cannot pay people market salary, but you do other things which are very highly valued by them and the family.
Excellent.
So I
So
think it's very
here's a
interesting.
question that comes. Do you think there's always this climax when a VC gets involved in a startup? We want to bring an experienced leader, right? And do you find in your experiences that a lot of the founders in itself are inadequate to lead the change and bring about, the success for the business?
They are quite capable of leading the change, but they have to have seen the movie or have been told what the movie is. This is where the advisors comes in, a coach comes in. Sometimes good board members can come in, but my point is you don't have to look. Many of the people who did great companies, they figured it out. Smart people figured it out with a little bit of coaching, a little bit of guidance, a little bit, okay, let's try this. So you don't have to bring in experienced people because experienced people come with their own baggage, their own culture, and sometimes to get rid of a wrong hire can ruin the company. It takes 6 to 9 months to get rid of somebody because they have to assess them, judge them, make the hard decision, then fire them, and you've wasted a year.
Got it.
So this is one of the important lesson is you become very diligent about how to hire, how to do culture match. It's less about prior experience, but have they seen success? Have they worked and dealt with those crises before?
So this is interesting. I've been part of an organization where the CEO made sure was part of doing a last minute chat with anybody you hire, and the company was up to 500 people. And I was very impressed. The CEO
Yeah.
cared about who's coming into the door because they say, be careful of who's in the pit with you when they're in the army, right? Because there's no door, there's only one way out for everybody.
Yeah.
I was very impressed, and it actually did set a trend because the right kind of people that would work well together were picked. That's what the CEO was doing, which took me a while to figure out, but interesting thought.
Google, I don't know which company were you talking about. Google did that for a long time. Google, the two founders interviewed people, everybody for a long time. So that's very important. This is how you shape the culture.
Makes sense.
So, what else is happening in your life? Any exciting travel, trips, things to do coming up?
No, I actually will talk about food. It's interesting. I never thought that I had this passion for South Indian food. I come from a South Indian family. That's my background. Never thought that passion for it will carry me through my entire life. And here I am, very busy. I've been really, really busy for the last 2 to 3 weeks. Hardly any time to even step out and enjoy the fresh, air outside. What I was craving was South Indian food, and I found it right near my home in Campbell. Campbell is not known for a lot. Campbell in the Bay Area is not known for a lot of great Indian food.
What am I
And
thinking about?
here's the question. I found Ulava Charu tiffins, and it's only breakfast and dinner items. And they have a new branch in Campbell Avenue. I was shocked. I just happened to be looking online on Yelp for something very close where I was, and hit me. I went there. Great place. The interior is amazing, and the
What
food
tiffin?
definitely. It's called
What
Ulava
is this?
Charu. It's Ulava Charu.
Ulavat,
Charu, Charu.
yeah, yeah. Ulavacharu, yeah, on El Camino.
Tiffins.
And this,
No, no, Tiffins. That one's in Santa
if,
Clara. That's the
yeah,
main
I saw
branch.
that. I see it. Yeah, Ulavacharu tiffins. So they
And
have one on El Camino
Santa
as well in
Clara?
Santa Clara.
Yes, correct. And this
Yeah,
one's in Campbell. It's newer.
I see. Okay. Well,
I didn't
something
have to
new.
go
Never heard
very
of it.
far. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I was very
maybe I
happy.
need to check it out.
Made me happy. Made me happy. I got the food I wanted and made my day. What
Yeah, I'm
about you?
excited. I just bagged a reservation in a Michelin three-star restaurant called Single Thread. So that's in Sonoma in Healdsburg. So there's only, like I think I was telling you, there's only 13 in the country. So this should be interesting because I went to one in New York last month, 11
Mm.
Medicine Park. So Single Thread. So I'll report back to you when I have been there.
When you have that
That's
meal, let us know all about it. It sounds very exclusive. So tell us, what was it worth that experience? Yeah.
Other thing I'm planning right now, I don't know if you or somebody else may have planning an African safari in South Africa towards November, December timeframe. So I've done 4 or 5 safaris in the past, but never in South Africa. I've done in Tanzania, in Kenya, in Botswana, and Zimbabwe. I don't know. You never done safari? It is the best vacation.
Well, why would you
So
say it's why would you say it's the best?
short answer is I can't describe it, but let me tell you this: for the first time, I felt that I've come home. You feel in the middle of the savannah next to your Range Rover, looking at a huge swath, few animals lazily walking around. You feel
Mhm.
peaceful, you feel at home, you feel normal, you feel this is it. I belong here. It's a hard to describe feeling.
Now I'm going to ask you a question. Silicon Valley is just the opposite of it. Hurry, 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 run, 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 get it done, done, done. How does that feel like home?
I know. It
Yeah,
makes no sense.
makes no
It
sense.
makes no,
But it's a
it makes no
serenity,
sense,
I
but
guess.
that is true. I mean, you find your own serendipity. You're more into looking at the ocean and sitting in by the Santa Cruz beach.
Yeah,
You have told me that before, so you know you
makes
find your
sense. My
serenity
favorite
over there.
place, my favorite place in the Bay Area, let's be very clear, is not Santa Cruz. It's Capitola, a
Capitola.
small sleepy town on the beach. Of course, it feels very touristy nowadays. I love sitting on there. There is a sit out right on top of a hill where at night the waves thrash very high because you got the high tides. It is such a serene moment where you feel that the ocean is much more powerful than you are. It's just scary. There's a certain sense of eeriness to it, which is amazing to sit and listen to.
And that's only about an hour drive south of here.
Yes, correct. It's only an hour.
Yeah, yeah,
California is
yeah,
beautiful. Anywhere you drive and you got the ocean, you got the mountains, you got the hiking. So yeah, it's about an hour or less.
yeah. So, what else is happening in your life about any? I know you're going to New York soon.
Yep.
What takes you to New York? Anything interesting?
No, it's a little bit of both, catching up with old friends and a little bit of work, kind of, connecting with people. You talk about remote work, right? Here's the caveat. There's a lot of people I have never seen but worked with for a very long time. So my connection to them is more transactional because it's always on Zoom, right? When you're in Zoom all the time, it tends to be transactional because there's the let's get this done and get away from the camera. Let's move on. So I think it's about time. I wanted to connect with a few people I worked with for long. So that's what the New York trip is about. And what do you think about remote work, Naeem? I got to hear your thoughts. Haven't heard it.
Remote work, COVID was a good teaching for all of us. We thought it was impossible. I used to hate remote workers. We all got to be face to face because that's how you build chemistry. But COVID taught us it can work. And ideally, it's a sprinkling of both. So most companies are doing like 1 or 2 days in person, or like what you're doing is that every 3 months, let's spend like 4 or 5 days together. Then if we could be remote, but we have the tools available to be able to do that, and it's being productive. So, by the way, we do have a couple of comments from the Tina Mani, which I met recently. She is from Dallas, or she was in Dallas
Uh-huh.
recently. She attended my startup bootcamp at TIE. So she's
Mhm.
also talking about how the role of the culture is important and the humility of the founders to be able to work with people who have skills they don't have. But again, finding the people who will then adopt the culture of the company and are flexible. And that's where the advisors can be very helpful because advisors have the knowledge, but they don't have to do the lifting. So getting the right advisors. I always had many advisors in every company I've done. So I
Let
think
me
that's a
answer the
good
next
point.
question.
Product mathematics.
Naeem, I'll answer the next question. You talk about bringing
Yeah,
advisors. I think it's,
yeah,
first
do
of all, it's
that.
very critical, right? I myself have benefited huge, both in my professional career and in trying to do a startup with an advisor, which is probably how we met. But that's a story for another day. But I will say setting that expectation of what you're looking out of the advisor is extremely important, right? Because when you go to an advisor, they're much more experienced than you. There's a fear factor of expressing yourself because this engagement with an advisor could lead you somewhere you were not thinking about or not wanting. So you got to have a narrow conversation with your advisor. First of all, build a personal relationship is must. You should be able to connect alike. If you're not able to connect alike, the advisory engagement is even tough because it's a business engagement. And you got to put boundaries on what you're looking out of it, right? Have a conversation what you're looking for, and that will actually tell you if that's the right advisor or not having the conversation. A lot of people go to advisors because they think it's the best way to get their startups off the ground and scaling, but not having that conversation with your advisor is actually not going to help you in the long run. You got to be very precise on where you're looking for that advisory help, which areas you think are narrow for you, and what you can get help with, I would say. What are your thoughts, Nate?
So yeah, because Parag Mehta is saying what are the best practices. I think what I would say is don't put specific goals for advisors.
Why?
This is not a consultant. An advisor is you're buying access, you're buying their time. You're going to listen to their opinion, and then you'll decide if any of that is relevant to you or not relevant to you. A consultant is when you give them specific things to do and you expect them to finish them. With advisors, only thing you're buying is access, time. That I want to meet with you 1 hour every month, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or I want to have access through email, because you don't know what they don't know. They know a lot more than you think.
Probably true,
So
but see, when you're looking for advisors, you have multiple types of advisors, okay?
yeah,
Am I correct? And
yeah,
having
I
that
put them in
upfront
5 buckets.
conversation is what I'm talking about. Yeah. So that's the ones we should call out nine. What are the type of high advisors anybody could meet with? And what is the
Sure.
type
So,
they need, which is the conversation?
yeah, no, absolutely. That's a very relevant question. I think not often talked about. The first advisor you need is a domain expert. So you're software guys, you're doing something in agriculture or construction or whatever. You need somebody who's been in construction, who's been in medical devices. So that's a domain expert. The second type of advisor is technology expert. So building something on blockchain and 3D, whatever, or VR, and you need somebody who's done VR or done blockchain, whatever the technology is. The third type is domain expert. Did I say domain expert already? Yeah, I did say that.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so, so domain expert, the technology expert. The third one is a connector. So this guy knows a lot of people. This person can connect you with this and that and whoever because they're connected. The fourth type of person is a personal coach. They know nothing about your technology or your domain, but they understand you. They like you. They're willing to guide you, and so you don't make silly mistake. The fifth type is a celebrity. Celebrity is somebody famous in your domain. He may not ever have enough time for you, but the fact that you were able to get him or her and they're part of your advisory board, they look good on the website, it's good to have one of those too. So this is the 5 types. So I try to hunt for one in each of the 5 buckets. I don't always get all 5, but I've gotten really 3 out of the 5 or 4 out of the 5.
No, no, this is useful because that's what I was getting at. You just need to know what kind of advisor they are and what are your match needs against that. Because the fear is they are experts, and a lot of people don't ask it. They just feel, oh, I got an
Yeah,
advisor that's great, and it
yeah,
doesn't pan out. Right. And
yeah. So I
but
think that you're
the
right.
sixth one I would say is operational excellence, but business aspects of it, we all fail at it. Most people just come with an idea.
Yeah, yeah. So, but this is why in the beginning, these advisors provide enough guidelines, enough guardrails, so you don't go off the road. And as you get more experience, more momentum, then you have different advisors. Okay, to fire them because you're not paying them cash. They're probably already successful and rich. You don't need to pay them cash. You give them a little bit of stock options. You give them a little bit of respect, and you can get a lot out of them. So yeah,
Okay.
I think that will be a good lesson for any entrepreneurs to pay attention to. Well, we're coming towards the end of our episode. Maybe another minute or two. Any parting thoughts? Any other advice or things you want to share with the? By the way, we are inviting a venture capitalist next episode, 2 weeks from today.
All right.
So this will be interesting. A VC, Steve Goldberg, who has been with Venrock Capital. He also is now general partner at Finisteer Ventures. So that'll be a good one.
Be a good one. And I just want to remind our all our listeners out here, both of us have managed different aspects. You come with a lot for startups, VC world. You're working on name and CEO advising now, and I work on the ground. We have a unique diaspora of mentorship between both of us, and so any one of our viewers listening in can reach out to our website Concordia Ventures and we'll be glad to help you. I mean, it's so easy to just talk about it. It all sounds so easy in few minutes. There's a lot more to spiral behind it, and we'd be glad to help you on those areas.
I'm coaching and advising CEOs in all stages, and Meena specifically specializes in technical mentoring and technical guidance. So we are available to you. By the way, Maz Amjad asked a question: what's the best time for an early stage founder to find advisors? Answer is from day one. From day one, you need somebody because you're making so many decisions every week. It'll be good to bounce them off of somebody. They don't cost that much. I mean, you don't. It costs some equity. Who cares? So I'll say from day one, because many companies I advise are even very, very early stage. They haven't even done the incorporation. So I guide them about how to do the incorporation right, legal entity setup right. There's no wrong time because they're not employees. You can get rid of them anytime you feel they're not being useful. Ask Meena. She has done that many times.
I know. A topic for another time, which is a very interesting topic about people and aspects of culture and how do you, when people don't work out, how do you do these things? So we should talk
Yeah.
about that. That's a topic, a hot topic. A lot of people want to discuss. But having said that, we have only a few minutes. Anything last parting thoughts, Naeem, from your side? We talked about food. Anything else exciting? Anything you're reading? Something we should, kind of share here before
Well,
we.
I'm actually very much reading something off topic because I'm a history buff, geopolitics. So I've been working on a lecture for the last 6 months, which is going live on Saturday, 8th of June. Is a history of empires and colonialism. How certain countries, especially European countries, end up dominating majority of the world. Did you know that in Africa, every country except two were colonized? Every country except two. So we'll talk about which two and why were they not, and how the
Yeah.
others and what's the good and the bad and the ugly of colonization and the empire building. Pretty interesting lecture. So this is live. You can check out westernciv.com. That's where I lectured, westernciv.com. We'll put a link on concordiaventures.com also. So that'll be interesting. I'm excited about that. Saturday, June 8th.
Awesome. I look forward to that. And then we can even have a discussion around it because it's very relevant to what we do here in Silicon Valley, empire building.
Yeah. Well, good to have you all. Good to see you. Many of you who came live and added thing. We look forward to having you, chatting with you, and connecting with you. Thank you, Julian. So we'll talk soon.
Thank you all.
Take
See you
care.
all
You've been
next
tuning
episode.
into Silicon Valley Life with your hosts, Naeem Zafar and Meena Meyyappan. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, concordiaventures.com. Thank you for your positive feedback, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.